Wes, you got someplace to be?
As a rule, I hate 30-minute shows. For a 30-minute show, it's like you get started and it's over. So 20 minutes is going to be even shorter.
I got to write this down. Stewart said 20 minutes is shorter than 30 minutes. I got to check that math when I get home.
Yeah, that's profound observations that you get here on the Founders Flipper.
Amazing.
Comedy gold. It was comedy gold.
When you pulled out the bag of coins, I died. The only thing I wish you had done was like sniff the Beanie Baby.
Johnny said we're the $100 peddlers. So.
yeah, we're just peddlers.
Yeah, we're just peddlers. Welcome back, everybody, to the Founder Flippers Resell podcast. I am Wes, along with Johnny and Stewart. Gentlemen, how you doing this evening?
What is going on, guys? Guys, did you see? I have to give a shout out to everybody. We found the key to having a great podcast. And the answer is less of us and more of other people. That Consignment Chat podcast is taking off. Everyone is loving the ladies. So less us, more everybody else. The secret to success.
Well, hopefully that'll work out for us tonight as we have the $1 Million Peddlers podcast on here with us. So, Stewart, you want to talk about them before we bring them into the studio?
Sure. So we're excited to have the $1 Million Peddlers. It's Paper Goy, and Wes had some questions about that name, I know. And then Mr. Magazine. We were fortunate enough to be on their show, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I guess now, and that was a lot of fun. So we're returning the favor and excited to talk to them and find out what all they do.
Let's go ahead and bring him on in. And there he is, Mr. $1 Million Peddler himself. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Mr. Magazine is playing the role of Stewart tonight. Actually, his son is between junior and senior year and has a very good opportunity to get some scholarships for athletics. So he had something he had to bring him to today. So he's unfortunately not going to make it, but that's kind of our way of always getting invited back a second time. Next time he'll be here.
Next time.
Oh, it's the old, like, when you would leave something behind. You know?
Yeah,
I can't imagine he would skip this to go try to get scholarship money for his son. I mean,
I know. I said that, this is going to bring us hundreds and hundreds of extra subscribers, and come on, think about me for once. But
yeah.
he didn't.
We appreciate you coming in this evening and returning the favor on this side. We're glad to extend that out to you. Thank you for bringing us onto your show, like Stewart said a couple of weeks ago.
And just to let you know, you guys have open door anytime you want to come in. Not really, don't even check with us first.
Yeah. During the downtimes anyway, right? Kind of like the summer slowdown.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry to hear your channel's not doing well.
It tanked. I don't know what happened. I have no idea.
Well, it all makes perfect sense now that we all were invited in during that time, when the summer slowdown hits. So, yeah, everything's starting to shake just perfect now. I understand it even more.
David, more importantly, I want to know, what are those people doing behind you?
They're sourcing, and I'm going to be sourcing as soon as we're done over here.
It's like they're frozen in time sourcing.
Well, I'm sourcing over in England, and they're the guards, so they just kind of stand and wait.
Lovely. Yeah. I think I can smell your photo.
Yeah, it's got that old book kind of smell.
That old English, old timey.
It's like
library.
This candle I have called a thrift shop.
Ooh,
and it smells kind of like old books. So
yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully it doesn't smell like the bins. Wouldn't want that in a candle.
Yeah, like the shoe section. It smells kind of like the shoe section. Yeah, the shoe section at the thrift shop.
Say that 5 times in a row. Go ahead, Stewart.
Yeah, I can't even say it once. So. I know David primarily from Whatnot. Know that you do a lot of paper and such. If you could tell us maybe a little bit about your background and reselling and what all you sell and how you got started and what else you do besides Whatnot, because like I said, that's really where I know you from.
Sure. Basically, Mr. Magazine and I started over on eBay in 1998. He started selling on there, and I joined and I was selling stuff through his account at that point. And then about 2002, I kind of broke off on my own and started selling my own, stuff on my own site at that point. Back in the days where you didn't even need to put a photo up on eBay. I don't know if you remember that or not. Didn't need a photo. They didn't contact bidders. You had to send emails out at the end of the auction to your people. So we actually had a template and we would change the price. You had to put the price in. You had to put the shipping in and all that and send them an email. The good old days back then. A lot of extra work you were doing back then. And from then kind of got into selling Amazon as well. Only FBM. I don't do anything FBA. The stuff I sell is way too slow moving, so it would absolutely kill me on the fees on that. Then a few years ago, started selling over on Etsy as well. And we started the channel and started selling on Whatnot. And I've got a couple of things. I think I sold something on Biblio 2 weeks ago. Yes. And a couple of other sites like that. Any little site you can just throw something on and sell and happy about it.
Is that just an all Bible channel?
No, Biblio is all books. Basically, if it won't sell on Whatnot for $3, I end up putting it over on Biblio just because I can't stand throwing anything out.
How often do you do Whatnot, David?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. 4 p.m. Eastern. I just did an Ephemera show on Tuesdays. I do Wednesdays. I do magazine shows at 4 p.m. Thursdays, I do book shows at 4 p.m. And I've just started a new thing. 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, I'm doing postcards. So come on by. And I've actually got a postcard show 3 weeks from now. We've got doctor's appointments to go to. So I'm actually doing a show. I'm going to try something new. Doing a show at 4 a.m. Eastern.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I will not be there. So that's just letting you know.
Well, here's the thing. I wake up at 2:30 in the morning anyway. I had to get special allowance for Mrs. Papergoy because for some reason at 4 o'clock in the morning, she doesn't want to hear, and I'm Papergoy, waking her up for some bizarre reason. But every time I get up and I take a look on the Whatnot app, and you're talking 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, the shows all have people in them, and more people than they have in if you look at the average show at like noon or 1 o'clock. So I think you're tapping into the West Coast out there, and for me, 4 o'clock in the morning, somebody's got to wake up the roosters.
I was wondering if you were just trying to cash in on the drunken California kids.
Well, I did put more West Coast postcards and things like that in that auction. Yep, my thought is, they probably aren't going to want Newark, New Jersey, as beautiful as that is. I don't think they want those postcards.
I just picture a bunch of kids drunk with their In-N-Out buying postcards on Whatnot.
And probably not Newark, New Jersey postcards. Oh, look, that building's burned out now. I'm kidding. We love Newark.
So is that how you built your audience for your Whatnot? Because I'm not on Whatnot, and I've vacillated going back and forth for a long time, but I've never really wanted to jump in it because I don't think I would have the audience. What's your average attendance of your audience? Do you know?
10 people.
And of course, I mean, it's not so much how many people you have, it's just whether you have people interested in your stuff. I mean, and I know David always has, you pretty much sell everything you put up, and you have, I know I see the same people in your shows when I drop by. So,
Yep. And that's really the secret to it, is regulars on Whatnot. And I know a lot of people, like I was talking with Mr. Buys a lot, and he doesn't preload anything. He simply puts up, and say he were doing postcard lots, he would do postcard lot 1 through 50 or whatever that is, and then unveil them there. And that's actually what I'm going to start doing in August with postcard lots, because I came into 20,000 or so postcards, and I got to sell them that way. I can't, individually sell those. That would take the rest of my life. But with the regular auctions, I do preload everything, and I would say probably, if I got 40 to 50 items at an auction, I'd say 10 to 15% of them have pre-bids on them when I start the show. So that just shows people have come by and bid already on them, and they don't actually have to attend the show. And
which would be better, to preload or not?
I would say, well, there's plus and minus of both of them. Mr. Buys a Lot has the advantage that he has a lot of people coming to his shows, and they know what to expect. So he can just do the quick, he's buying, he's flipping it. So he could buy 50 boxes of comics and say I'm selling 25 comics in a lot, pull them right out there on air, and he knows he's going to have people. However, he's also not going to get top price for them. He's trading top price for the fact that he can set up. I mean, I set up that postcard auction. It literally took me with 40 lots, not preloaded, just 40 lot 1, lot 2, literally took 30 seconds to set up the auction. You're trading that off 30 seconds to set up an auction versus taking half an hour, 45 minutes to set up an auction by doing it preloaded.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what you're selling too, Wes. Or like I catalog most of my shows when I do them. That's one thing I don't do that David does is go on regularly. I need to start doing more regular shows. I mean, I do okay when I go on, but I mean, I've done most of my shows catalog, but if I'm doing like unboxings or something, then, I'll do the same thing. I'll just preload some generic type listings that, like 1 to 3 ounce, 4 to 7, whatever. And then as I'm pulling stuff out, if somebody wants me to run something, I just run one from the bucket that falls in. So
now on those preloads though, can they just buy it outright, or is it like a bid? Or is it both?
It's a bid. I mean, you can preload things for buy it now if you want to do it that way as well. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and Whatnot's actually got a couple of sections, Wes. You have your marketplace, which is kind of like just eBay. I mean, it's just things that are for sale, and people can buy them outside of your shows. And I mean, I have over 500 things in my marketplace, and I sell like 1 or 2 things a month, but I just cross-post to there. And then you have within your shows, you can add stuff from your marketplace to your show, and it's basically just adding a pointer to it. So then somebody can buy that item from your show, and it automatically removes it from the marketplace. You can also convert your marketplace items to auctions really easily too, if you want to run something as an auction that you have in your buy it now.
Yeah,
David, is it true that you'll only do business with people that go by Mr. something?
Primarily. I did make the exception for you guys, though.
Appreciate it. I was trying to think if I needed a new name.
Mr. Frizz. But David, they say everything's in the name, and you don't have your name up there this evening.
I do not. I'm pushing the channel, not myself. The channel is greater than just one person.
But I've been wanting to ask you about that. Say it again, Mr. Paper Goy. Is that right?
Paper Goy. Yep.
What is a Paper Goy? What is that?
Well, the origin of the name is I go back to the old days where you could have an email address on eBay, and I had the email address, and they wouldn't allow you to keep that. They made you change your name, and I don't know if you remember that or not, Stewart, but back in the day, everybody had their email addresses. Well, they claimed it was for safety. They claimed, we don't want people to know your email because phishing, blah, blah. They didn't want you to do off-site sales is what they didn't want. So I had to change the name, and I said, geez, I sell a lot of things that are paper. What would be a good name? I know. I'm going to be Paper Boy. Well, of course, Paper Boy is taken. I said, well, I'm going to be Paper Guy. And, of course, Paper Guy is taken. And then I thought about it, and Goyim is what Jewish people refer to non-Jewish people as. We're Goyim, and I'm Goyim. And it's somewhat derogatory word to be Goy. In fact, if I've had people walk into my show and whatnot and go, hey, Goy, and it gets muted because Goy is a negative word. But I said Paper Goy, and I've gone with that name since then. And I'll sell to people on the East Coast, New York City, and they'll say, I absolutely love your name. That is a great name. And everybody else is like, hey, I don't know how to spell boy.
Well, I was definitely curious as to the origin of where that came from.
Yeah, I just thought it was a takeoff on the way people up north say guy. I'm just
Hey, Goy.
There's a lot more to it. This makes this episode worth more because it's the origin story of Paper Goy.
Oh,
one other question, David. So I always notice in your shows, that you're one of the few people who will not run things out of order. You're very adamant about that. So any chance you'll ever run anything out of order, or it's just this is how I do it and I'm never changing?
I will go back occasionally. Today, in fact, I went back to somebody came in and I item 14 and we were on like item 23. And I said, yeah, I'll run that for you. As far as running things in the future, nope. And the reason why is you've been in my auctions before, and I would say, Stewart, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would say I have a rather fast-paced auction.
Yeah.
And I do know how long it's going to take to get to the item. So if I'm on lot 5 and you come in and say, I want lot 25, I can look at the clock and I can go, stop back in 18 minutes. We'll be at it. And the reason why is I don't think that's fair to the other people that are sitting there or the other people that know the pace I'm going at and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to come in at quarter after and we'll be real close to the item that I want. I would hate to have them walk in and have the item sold on them. I don't feel that's fair to them. And I'll say, hey, throw a pre-bid on it or come back in 15 minutes and we'll be just about up to your item. And I don't get a lot of pushback on that. I know a lot of people, a lot of buyers will come in and they'll try to bully the seller into bringing the item up right away. That's the reason why I stick pretty hard and fast to that.
I mean, that makes sense. I always just wondered what the reasoning behind that is because you are in the minority. I mean, most people will run things on request all the time. So,
right. Yeah.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. I understand that.
I mean, so it's not just because you're a jerk or anything. So that's.
Well, I mean, that's part of the reason, but I didn't want to come say
in other words, that's what Stewart was getting to.
We do it my way and my way only.
No auction for you.
No auction for you. Delete.
David, you had mentioned about getting into having that big lot of postcards. Do you prefer them blank or written?
I'm not a postcard collector or dealer. I prefer them to sell. Don't particularly care myself. I do show the front and back on them, though, because some people do. But I've talked to postcard people before. I was on Popeye's postcard. I'll give him a free plug here. Do check out his YouTube channel. See, I'm giving everybody plugs today. But I did ask him about that after the show because, again, I'm not a postcard guy. And he goes, most people don't really, truly care. They want the view on the front. If it's got an interesting message on the back, great. There are people that collect the stamps, collect the postmarks, collect whatever on them on that. So it doesn't really make too big of a difference. I mean, obviously, you don't want something that's like torn out of a scrapbook unless it's a very rare view, but otherwise.
So, David, what would be the holy grail of postcards for you?
So, I guess a real photo Halloween. How did I do, Stewart?
Yeah. Now, I mean, I do know that. Like, I'm kind of like David. I mean, I only got into postcards really as part of Whatnot. I was never a big postcard person. So what I've learned since I've been on Whatnot. And I have learned Halloween postcards. If you ever see those out anywhere, and if they're vintage, those sell for, a minimum of $25 usually, and sometimes more. And condition is not as important on those because apparently they're very rare. So.
Yeah, but I picked up, I actually did a short over on the $1 Million Peddlers a couple of weeks ago. It was a really bad flea market. It had rained a few days before. Nobody bothered to set up because it was going to rain in the middle of the day. And the only thing I did pick up was a Halloween postcard for $5, and I did the short on that. Literally the only thing I bought at the flea market, one of the few times that ever happens.
You sold that postcard yet?
Nope, I put it aside for, I do a holiday auction over on Whatnot, usually September or October. I do 2 during the same week. One is all books and one is all ephemera.
So, David, do you go to estate sales and do you find postcards and things like that at estate sales as well?
That is actually where I got this big collection of postcards. Was I bought out an estate sale of postcards, and kind of scary. I don't know if you, of course you did, saw my haul video. Notice how I threw in that. Of course you did. With the estate sale that I went to, they had all the Disney stuff, and kind of interesting. I ended up talking to the owner of the estate sale, and I said to him, hey, at some point I want to do one of your estate sales, one that's set up well. I'd like to do a haul video. I gave him the card that advertises the channel, and he was all like, oh, certainly, of course. And then I asked him, what do I need to do if I ever want to buy out an estate sale that you have? I said, only the paper stuff. I'm not going to, I don't want anything else. And he said, well, you just come up to me and talk with me, and I'm easy to deal with. I said, sounds good. Second day of the sale, I made a pile of stuff. I went up there, and he starts counting through the stuff, and he says, you want everything? I said, yeah, because it's all Disney paper, 90% Disney paper. He goes, let's make the magic happen. I go, works for me. So he went over and he started going through the boxes and he threw a price at me, and it was a fair price. I could definitely make money. A little more than I usually would pay to buy out an estate sale. However, it was Disney. And as Stewart will tell you, Disney stuff definitely does move, no doubt at all. I don't generally worry about sell-through rate. I can pay a little more on this because I know this stuff will sell through. So I was like, yeah, okay. So he obviously knew he had a fish on the line, because then he said, hey, I might have more paper over here in this barn. And sure enough, he leads me into the barn and throws together a whole bin and throws me a price that was a really, really good price. And I'm like, yep. I said, you got to stop looking because I don't have any more room.
So what all kind of Disney paper was it? And like, what were kind of the years on it?
A lot of like Disney books, but like the Snow White stuff from 1938, things like that. So from about 38 through about 2000, but pretty heavy in the books from the 30s, which are always pretty good books over there. All the Snow White stuff from the 30s. And in the haul video, I don't remember if it was the one I showed out or the one I put behind the paywall. There was a $300 piece that I had bought the day before at the sale for $5 or something other like that in the Disney. And that's one of the things too, that if you are in the paper and you find some good stuff, and again, I found that $300 piece the day before that I did not know was a $300 piece. I thought it was a good piece. I didn't think it was that good. My thought is there's going to be more good stuff. It's just a question of getting to it. And that was one of the reasons why I was willing to buy out the estate sale. When you have the opportunity to purchase quality things, I think you have to do it.
Well, and you're building a relationship with that guy too for the next time. I mean,
Well, I'm going to tell you a bad story about that. I got a call Monday from the guy that works for him. Says, we have an estate sale this Thursday and Friday out at the same place. A lot more ephemera. You need to restock. I said, no. So I think that relationship might work a little bit too well.
I know, and it's hard to say no when you get those kind of private opportunities to get stuff. So
Yep.
Sounds like they honestly don't want to have to deal with it. They just want to get it out of there.
Well, one of the things I've noticed, and maybe it's just up here in Rochester, and maybe it's because I am such a specialty type dealer, I don't think I've got a lot of competition up here. And if I do have competition, the competition I have, from what it seems to be, everybody wants to cherry pick, whereas I'm willing to take it all. And I think that definitely opens up a lot of opportunities. And if you've got the ability to buy out everything, my suggestion would be do it and figure out what you're going to do later, as long as the price is right. Because the other way I was looking at it was the stuff that I had picked out at that sale was probably $100, $150. I didn't pay that much more for everything.
yeah. And I'm kind of like you. I find here in Tennessee, where I am, or in Knoxville, I mean, now postcards are kind of a different animal. There are people looking for those, but like just general paper, like handwritten letters, photos, just general ephemera. I mean, I find, especially one particular estate sale I go to, I can go late in the day and a lot of that stuff doesn't even look like it's been looked through. Like I got probably 100 pieces of like car ephemera. The last estate sale I went to, I mean, it was just all in a big box, and it was all showroom brochures from the 60s, a lot of GM stuff. And I think, I ended up getting it all for $10.
Wow.
I mean, and it had been there for a good while, and it's one of those you would think somebody would have, at least gone through it and picked out some of the good stuff. But
well, they might have, though. Here's the thing. They might have gone through it and said, I don't even know the years. I'm not a car guy, but, a 59 Ford Fairlane. I'm going to buy this because that's what my dad had.
yeah,
And they buy one, and they take one out, and they leave the rest of them sitting there. Being willing to buy in bulk, I think, especially in the paper world, I think that gives you such a leg up on everybody else. The only problem is paper is like tribbles, and that's the problem, is it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing.
So, David, why do you think Disney stuff does sell so well?
Oh, there are so many collectors out there of it. And this is the stuff, again, a lot of the stuff I picked up was from the 30s, and that's earlier Disney. Obviously there's stuff back from the 20s, but it's earlier Disney, it's Snow White, and those are things that I I'm sure I probably saw Snow White growing up at the drive-in. Probably went with my family. My sister wanted to see it, and I probably sat through it. And I think every generation that's alive now has seen Snow White and has seen Peter Pan and has seen Pinocchio. And so those movies are, and it's wholesome because it's Disney. And so every grandparent out there, oh, I remember this. And so people just collect it because it's nostalgia and all that.
Okay.
Were you able to
David,
get those Disney VHS tapes? I see those things on eBay for like $1 million sometimes.
Those were all picked. They knew what they were doing.
David, do you see a lot of cool like Eastman Kodak stuff?
Oh, tons of Kodak stuff up here all the time. And we did a video 1 million years ago, one of our earliest videos, and know what's around your area. And Kodak's around our area. And a lot of the stuff around here is real common, but there are Kodak collectors around the world. So I have to keep that in mind. Like, I've seen 15 of these. Well, the guy living in Tennessee who collects Kodak hasn't seen 15 of them. He's never seen one before. And so you pick it up. Buffalo Bills stuff is real common around here. I pick it up just because I know that I can sell it across the country. It's common up here, but you didn't go to the game to get this giveaway.
Yep. And we even see that, like, being in North Carolina, we get like a lot of UNC Duke stuff where even the vintage kids are like, I don't need any more Tar Heel stuff. But it's like there's a whole world out there.
Yep.
I was watching somebody on YouTube who's in Australia, and he was wearing a UNC shirt. So it literally, you have the world, So, that's a great point.
I'm going to plug over on $1 Million Peddlers. We do have a membership available, and we do have videos behind the paywall. We've got about 70 of them up there now. We've been putting up a lot of videos. In fact, I was shooting a video right before I came on here as well. But one of the things I do over there is we do our usual on the free channel. We do on Saturdays, we do a Bolo video. Well, I do a Bolo video back behind the wall as well. And I look at a bunch of Mr. Magazine's items and talk about what sold, how it sold, and the like. And I do not remember the title. You'll have to subscribe to find out. But there was a title of a magazine. I put it this way, I had never seen it before. I'd never heard of it before. It was some bizarre medical journal. And you want to talk about keywords. Like, am I going to use immunotherapy as my keyword? Am I going to use swine flu? What is a keyword possibly to use on it? And Mr. Magazine listed it. I've never seen the magazine before. It was some scholarly type journal from 2000, something like that. He sold 8 different issues of it. Now, Stewart, you've got the boots. If you took that and you put that magazine in your booth, would you ever sell it for $1? Probably not. Yeah. And he sold them at $10 to $15 per issue because of the worldwide reach of eBay. And if you're just local, you're never going to get rid of that. And that's just a great lesson. Who's going to want this? It only takes one person.
So, David, do you purchase old Life magazines?
I try not to. I end up with them in deals. There are a few issues that do sell. I have an idea which issues do sell, so I keep a lookout for those. Believe it or not, the second issue is actually more valuable than the first issue. Believe that or not. We'll actually go for more.
David, the answer is yes. Buy all of them always.
They are so common though. A lot of people do buy them to cut up for ads. I just don't have any time to do that, obviously.
Well, I picked up one from an estate sale this past weekend from 1942, and I noticed when I got home the back cover was gone and the front cover it had come off. So when you do have magazines like that are not complete, do you more or less go through and remove the staple and then start selling like the ads out of it? Because I've noticed some people they will sell the ads separately because they're really neat.
I will if I'll give a perfect example. I went down to Chautauqua region. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Chautauqua region of New York or not. Mayville, New York. And there was a sale down there, and the guy had these big boxes of magazines. He was the guy putting on the show. And he's like, I don't know what I want for anything. I picked through it, and I found everything that kind of had a cover, everything, whatever. And he gave me a price that was pretty low. And I said, what do you want for everything else, all the scraps? And he goes, I don't know, $10. So I ended up carrying 3 or 4 heavy boxes out. Well, because I was 2 hours away from home, we had a hotel. And I had nothing to do that night. So I sat there, and that's exactly what I did. I harvested 1910s, Ladies' Home Journal magazines like that, and sell the ads, group together like type ads, and I sell them over on Whatnot when I find the pile. When I trip over that pile, I do that. So if I've got the time, I would do that, definitely.
So when you do harvest them, do you just leave the page in full as it is?
Yeah,
or
I would do that.
The ad out, or okay.
Yeah, I would leave it. I would leave it in full myself. If you're talking 42, you probably have some pretty good World War II ads in there.
There was actually, it was a year later they had Pearl Harbor stuff in there. So it was like December of 42, which was a little over a year later. And they had some of the pictures, and they were talking about it. And it was a really neat thing to see. And I never looked at that kind of stuff until Stewart, he started talking about it. And so here I am going to these estate sales thinking I know what I'm talking about and what I'm doing. But I picked that magazine up for $2. So
yeah. And you've got quite a bit more than $2 worth of ads in it. Definitely.
So David, do you have much luck just selling ads, say on eBay?
Don't even try.
Yeah,
I don't even try that. Nope.
I've listed a few and never really had much luck selling them there. So
where would you sell them, Dave?
I would do Whatnot. I would sell like things together and sell them over on Whatnot. The only exception would be that's too late. 42 is too late. But I did pick up in the 1910s magazines. I did pick up a Maxfield Parrish Jello ad that I did pull out and sell separately. So there are some better ads. Or if I were going through and if I found some really neat looking Halloween ad, I might sell that separately over on eBay. But otherwise, it would just be the one-off. Hey, I think this happens to be a really, really good item. Otherwise, and over on Whatnot, actually, if you can get in on the train, I don't know if you ever get in on that train or not, Stewart, but if you can get into the junk journal trains, they're great. They basically take distressed items and they repurpose them is essentially what they do over at the junk journal trains. And I get in on that train, and I'm pretty much, if not the only, one of the only people selling old ephemera. So I do well. Think postcards or trade cards, postcards that the backs are ruined on them because they were pulled out of scrapbooks. Well, they're going to use. They care about the image on the front. They don't care what the back looks like. They're not buying it for collectible. They're buying it to repurpose. And I think that's absolutely great. Old leather books that are falling apart, they'll buy them just for the cover to repurpose the leather. So it keeps things out of the landfill. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
So is there a certain time period or event that's maybe obscure? Like you always think like World War II, but like an obscure event or time period that is surprisingly collectible or popular?
Well, one thing, you'll enjoy this one. One thing that sells all the time, and you can actually find it around here, is the 1901 Pan Am exhibition in Buffalo. Yeah, that does sell. That's got a lot of collectors for it, but you might not think about it. Now, you see it around here. That's why I happen to know that one. The war. Go ahead.
I had a buddy growing up, and he was a huge Pan Am guy and just had a whole room of stuff. And, we were high school, and we're like, what is this that you're so, they don't, even in Buffalo, they didn't teach us about it. I didn't really learn about it till I was older.
And then one day you were out with him on Dingus Day, and you go, really?
That was it. That was it. But yeah,
after the show, you're gonna have to explain to the boys.
Yeah, what Dingus Day is. Yeah.
So, David, I have one last question for you for myself.
Yep.
What exactly did you steal from our show? Because you had a live going on, and I come in there, and you said, "Hey, Wes, by the way, we stole something from your show. Just wanted you to know."
I'm glad you asked. It'll be coming out in a few weeks. We actually shot a video about can you be a perfectionist in reselling? And we stole that idea from you. And all three of you shook your head and go, yep, I thought of that one.
Yeah.
But yep. And spoiler alert, no.
No.
It's a real short video. It's a short. Can you be a perfectionist in reselling? Nope. Hit the like button.
Nope. Thank you. Like and subscribe.
Well, if you're watching this now, you've already missed the Ephemerama that I'm in this coming Saturday, which will be last Saturday as you're watching this. I was able to get into the Paper Palooza. That's kind of an interesting one. I'm going to the Thousand Islands for a show that I've never gone to before to pick that. I got the wife bringing her up there. It's a real touristy area. And I said, Mrs. Papergoy is a saint. She absolutely is. She puts up with the piles of stuff. So I said, hey, why don't we go to the Thousand Islands? She goes, yeah. I go, for a show? But we're doing that on Friday, Saturday, and I'm coming back Sunday, early afternoon, and then I got coming right back to do a show that afternoon. So I've got that. Just my usual show set up as well. I don't think I'm part of any other trains yet, but as well as I do, Stewart, the trains end up just kind of showing up.
Yeah, I'm in Paper Palooza next month as well. So looking forward to that. And then have you done one of the Shopaholic things yet?
No, which one is that?
The Shopaholic. So the Shopaholic started out in other categories besides Ephemera. It's kind of a brand that let's see, I can't remember what her name is, but it's something she started. It's gotten really big across these other categories, and like each category's got a different night of the week. Like glassware might be on Monday night or something like that. So I guess they got Marla and Lillian to jump in and pull Ephemera in. So it's every Wednesday night now. I think it's from 6 to 10 Eastern, and it's just 20-minute shows, but it's called the Best of Ephemera. So it's a 20-minute show where you bring your best stuff. And I watched the one last week, and you're getting a lot of traffic from other categories because the affiliation with this whole Shopaholic brand. So I'm looking forward to seeing how my show goes Wednesday night, because I've never done, as a rule, I hate 30-minute shows. Just the amount of preparation you do for a 30-minute show, it's like you get started and it's over. So 20 minutes is going to be even shorter. But, watching it, I think it's good exposure. I definitely prefer to do the hour train events. If I'm going to,
I got to write this down. Stewart said 20 minutes is shorter than 30 minutes. I got to check that math when I get home.
Yeah, that's the kind of profound observations that you get here on the Finders Flip and Freeze.
You got to watch count that one. I'm still trying to figure that one out there.
Yeah. David, do you have like a grail out there that you want to find?
Well, obviously, I come from the sports card and comic book world, so of course, I would love to go out and find the bottom of a box in Action Comics #1, and as I'm opening it up, somebody used the Honus Wagner card as a bookmark. Hasn't happened yet. But obviously things like that. But I do get I hate saying it this way, but I get pleasure out of I like the history to start with, but I also get pleasure out of the things that I can find on the second day or the third day or a flea market that 5,000 other people have gone through. And I believe I did a quick little short on it. I had gone to a local, I'm going to call it a flea market. It was a really small thing in the gym of a school. And literally you walked into the room and there were, I don't know, 25 dealers there, whatever it was. But right when you walk in, the dealer right on the left-hand side had some Golden Age comic books sitting right out. Now, they weren't superhero ones, but they were Golden Age comic books. And everybody in the place, I got there 2 hours after it opened. So by the time I got there, the table was 2.5 hours into it, them having been sitting there. And they had reasonable prices to start with. And I said, can you do a deal if I take them all? I ended up picking up for like $40, like $400 to $500 worth of comics that had been sitting there for 2.5 hours, right on the table, right as you walked in, not covered up. They were literally sitting right in the middle of the table. And I said, 2.5 hours worth of, and they're comic books. It's not like it's some obscure little thing that, I happen to be the only person that knows about. No, they're Golden Age comic books. So it's kind of crazy the things that you can find out there. And those are the things that I really get the rush out of.
Did you ever source in Buffalo?
Actually, I went to it was a thrift store that had a ton of books, just a whole ton of books along the back wall. And I found a first print of the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, which at the time was a couple $100 book. And I found that there for $1. Yep.
When I was a kid, we used to go to the Super Flea in Buffalo. That was...
It's now a Walmart.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, I used to
that place was where it was at.
Somebody had a bunch of when I went there, they had a bunch of John F. Kennedy, the 1963 or 64 trading cards of him, all in a photo album. But they were all put in, like they weren't glued in. They were just kind of stuck in with the little corners. And I said, "Oh, how much for these?" I go, "What are those pictures?" I don't know, $10. And it was the entire set stuck in that way. And at the time, it was like a $50 set, $60 set. And given that I collect, I said, that's a nice little addition to my collection to pick it up for that price. So very happy about that. I picked that up. That's the one thing I remember buying at the Super Flea.
I think your book guards are getting tired. I'm pretty sure I saw one just twitch.
Well, he's not getting paid. I told him, you stand like that.
Just stand there, just freeze.
I paid for them off a Fiverr and said, Fiverr's not a sponsor, but should they wish to be. Well, if you don't mind me going off for a couple of minutes over here, I wanted to tell a story that heretofore, and we're the only reselling station out there that uses that word, is only something other that I had behind the paywall, but I'm going to give you a little sneak preview of the kind of things. I enjoy doing haul videos, and every week over on the membership side, I do a bit of a haul video as well. So I was walking around the Avon flea market this last week, and I had walked around, and I was about a third of the way through. I really wasn't in the mood to buy. So see a dealer that I knew, and I used to know him back in my other life, my day job. He was an accountant. I was an auditor. I used to do audits with him for his clients. So we knew each other. He used to hold auctions. I know the guy. So I stand there talking to him about being retired and everything. And I said, I'm buying too much. And he goes, "You haven't bought anything yet. You got to buy my paper." I go, He goes, "Whole box." Now I'd started to look through the box, and first 3 items, I saw 2 items that I wanted. And he goes, "Buy the whole box, $10. I'm like, "Well, I want 2 of the first 3 items, and you have these priced at $6 total. Pretty sure with the rest of the box." So I said, all right, I'll do it. I said, so I handed him $10. I said, "You mind holding it?" "No problem." So I'm walking around, and I've got I don't know if did you get one of those, Stewart, the Whatnot hats? Were you part of the Whatnot Con?
No.
Okay.
I was not important enough for this.
Well, the important people were invited to Whatnot Con, and they sent out a little goodie bag, and I've got a Whatnot hat you'll see me wearing in some of my haul videos. And go to somebody else, and they said, "Hey, you got a Whatnot hat. Do you just wear the hat, or do you sell on the site?" And I said, "No, I sell on the site." And they said, "Well, what do you sell?" I said, "Well, I sell ephemera and I sell books." And they said, "Oh, do you need more inventory?" And I go, They go, "Here, I got these 3 totes." And when I'm saying totes, you know those big, long blue totes?
Mm-hmm.
"We got 3 totes of books. Give us $2. Now, how you come up with $2 for 3 totes? I'm like, wait, that's 68 cents a tote?
Here, we want rid of it. Here.
Now, that's where I really should have negotiated and said, make it $1, and we got a deal. But being Johnny Big Spender, I spent $2. So I bought those totes. So I went around the show and everything like that. Went back to the guy that I knew, and I said, I got to keep my mouth shut. I bought that 3 totes off that guy for $2. He goes, "Oh, good. Then you're buying all my books off me for $40. I go, "What?" He goes, "You're buying all my books." I go, now he's got 3 old map books from the 1890s, early 1900s, 1901, 1902, and I think 1899 that are kind of coming apart. But Stewart will tell you, you can pull the maps out of there all day long and sell them. So 3 1899, 1900 map books included, along with the rest of the books. And I'm like, I ended up making 9 trips back to the car. And if you've ever tried to walk through a flea market with all of the slow shoppers stopping every 2 seconds in 90-degree heat with sweat pouring down your face, carrying 50 pounds worth of books. But I made it. And Mrs. Papergoy was as happy as you can expect to see 9 more boxes of books in the car. But I did do a quick little short over there as well. We filled the Rogue for $67. Now, to get an entire vehicle full of stuff to sell, good stuff to sell for $67, deals are out there. You just got to be willing to wear a whatnot hat, really, I guess. Apparently, that's the lesson I learned.
One thing I've always found fascinating is historical map making. Like, they didn't have running water, but they could tell you the boundary lines.
And they can tell you where the sea serpents were, too.
Yeah.
As
if I remember right, I'm not a big map guy, but if I remember right, obviously, if you see things where I think it was if California is an island, you're dealing with a real early map at that point. I believe they originally thought California was an island on some of those maps.
Wow.
Yeah. Right earthquake, it might be again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing they put the sea serpents on there so you knew to avoid that section.
Yeah, stay away from that section for sure.
He must have moved.
Yeah, I just imagine like Lewis and Clark. They just like get to the Rockies and they're like, "Son of a."
Not going no further.
Nope, it ends here.
About a month ago, Mrs. Papergoy and I went up to the falls and stayed on the American side. There's actually, and they're not a advertiser either, but should they wish to, there's actually a good Philippine restaurant up there. And Mrs. Papergoy, of course, is Filipina. So we went to that restaurant, and then we went over to see the falls because it was like 3 blocks away. And exactly what you just said there about Lewis and Clark is what I've always thought about. Can you imagine 500 years ago walking around going, what's that noise up ahead? Oh, geez. Or if you're in the boat going the wrong way and you go, hey, what's that? It's just
we're really moving now.
Yeah, it just amazes me that all the old explorers like that. I mean, how do you map, with any level of detail, the stuff you're seeing? But they did a pretty good job. I mean,
Wait, they didn't have Google Maps?
Well,
David, we appreciate you joining us tonight on the Finders Flippers Resell podcast. We hope we didn't hold you up too long.
Oh, no, I was wondering if I could, I don't mean to keep you, but do you mind if I do a quick little soft sell for the channel?
Sure. Go ahead.
A couple of things. Number one, I did watch, and I heard you guys talking before I came on about Consignment Chat, and that was a really, really good show. I did learn a fair amount out of it, and I've actually reached out to them, and they'll be over on our show, and we'll be over on their show as well. Somehow or other, for that one, I think Mr. Magazine's going to show up. Get pretty ladies, and he shows up. It's you guys, he doesn't. I'm sure it's just coincidence. But yeah, do check out the $1 Million Peddlers if you could. Definitely would appreciate that. We're kind of moving the channel in a little bit different ways right now. We've got the membership over there, which if you're a reseller, I think that you really, really should join. There's about 70 videos up there. And the way I look at it is it's $6.99 a month. Watch it for 1 month, binge watch it, quit, join again in a couple of months after I put up another 70 videos. But I give you tips on there. I've learned, and I'm not going to tell you what it is here. You got to subscribe. But I've learned a good way, a very, very good way to get bulk deal. Well, we're a whatnot hat. I gave that away. But I've learned another really, really good way to get bulk deals when you go to shows. And I'm not talking a flea market. I'm talking actual shows. And I started to use it when I went to Madison Bachville. And I'm saying, I'm just walking away with more stuff than I can handle just by using this one little technique here. And join the membership, watch the video, learn that, and it'll pay for itself right there. Quit, and you'll be way ahead of the game. But the other place that we're kind of moving the channel a little bit is, I don't know if you've seen or not, but I started doing top 10 videos on Tuesdays. And it's a lot of fun. Like, for instance, today, as a matter of fact, top 10 JFK items that sold on eBay. Top 10 bicentennial items that sold on eBay. And the reason why that's so much fun for me is because I am so deep into paper that I'm pretty oblivious to everything else. And it's kind of opening it up. And I'll give you a little thing. When I did the bicentennial one, it was, and I don't remember if it was Huffy or what the brand was. It was a brand of bicycle. Somebody had like a banana seat from the bicycle with the bicentennial looks on it, the red, white, and blue, sold for $600 for the bicycle seat.
Wow.
And I said, what the? And I never in a million years would have looked at a bicycle seat when I was out. And because of doing the channel, I'm like, whoa, $600 for a bicycle seat? Really? I, never would have thought about it. And somebody sold a chainsaw. I had no idea they did a bicentennial chainsaw, but sure enough, they did a bicentennial chainsaw, and that went for a couple $100. And again, these are things that aren't even close to what I deal in. So I think those videos are great because they expand my horizon, and I have a lot of fun doing them as well. Because again, I'm so deep into paper that when I see this non-paper stuff, I say, somebody paid that for that? Really? And it's kind of getting me looking into different things than just paper. So it's a lot of fun doing those videos.
Maybe we should put up a paywall, Wes, but we'll just have our paywall redirect to Frizzy Finds videos because they seem to be pretty successful over there.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good over there.
Well, and I'm going to give a little sneak preview of, I believe it's probably, if you're watching this next Wednesday, it probably was I think the Princess Di. The highest selling item was a Beanie Baby, a Princess Di. So there you go. There you go. I think the guy got $10,000. Oddly, he made the sale, but he didn't get a positive. So he's got zero positive. Beanie Baby for $10,000. Must still be in transit. That's all I can think about.
I'm gonna have to dig through that bag that I got from you today, Wes.
I didn't put anything purple in there, so don't even look.
Well, David, with all these streams you have out there, next time we see you, you should be the $1 billion peddlers. This is exciting.
Johnny said we're the $100 peddlers. So.
yeah, we're just peddlers.
Yeah, we're just peddlers.
Mr. Magazine would do his part. Jeez.
No, David, again, hey, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a lot of fun. You've got a lot of knowledge about the paper business for sure. Between you and Stewart, I've learned so much. I never even thought that I would even venture to have any of that knowledge. But it's fun listening to you.
Well, well, first off, thank you for having us on. Well, Mr. Magazine will be on next time if we are ever reinvited back on. And of course, you guys can come on our show again at some point as well. Certainly.
Come on anytime.
But paper is a lot of fun just because there's so much history behind it. And one of the things that does keep me from maximizing my time properly is when I pick up old magazines, because you end up down a rabbit hole at some point. And it's some magazine with some big scandal from 1923. And you're like, I never even heard of this. So you start reading the article, and then what do? You jump on Wikipedia, who's not a sponsor, but should they want to be. You jump on Wikipedia and you take a quick look, and you're like, oh, wait, that's how that ended up happening, because you're reading moment in time. You're reading something in the middle of the story, and they're like, these 3 people are suspected to be the killer. And you're like, I can't wait. I got to find out who it is. What are the odds I'm going to find I've got the October 8th, 1913 literary digest. Where am I going to find the net? Oh, I could just look on Wikipedia. But you end up cutting to the chase. But I'll tell you a neat thing I found out in Allentown. If you like history, it was went to the Allentown Paper Show, and I paid $1 for it, which is why paper is so great. You never know what's going to be in there. It was a magazine talking about Lizzie Borden.
Ooh.
And I'm reading this article about Lizzie Borden going, I'm actually reading real time. That was what they thought about what was going on with that and about the trial and all that. And I said, that's just amazing, the history out there with stuff like that. Just
so you're saying 100 years from now, all of our stories and everything we have going on, non-existent, right? Basically.
Well, unless they make a neat little nursery rhyme like they did about Lizzie.
No, that's true. That's true.
It's crazy to think that these were real people.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. 'Cause, we all know Lizzie Borden took the axe, yada, yada, yada. We all know that. But yeah, to actually read about it, because you say, wow, and this trial was going on, and it was quite the crazy thing going on at that point, and all this coverage and all that, and to actually find something about it. And that's the stuff that you love in the old history. And you just learn so much from dealing in paper. You really, really do. And no disrespect to any other line, I don't think there's any other line that you learn as much as you do in paper if you count books as part of it. I don't think there's any other line. Can you think of one, Stewart?
No, and I absolutely agree with that. I mean, like glassware, it's pretty to look at, but, it might have a story behind it, but it's kind of this finite story. There's not really a rabbit hole to go down. And you're right with paper. I mean, another thing that I always go down rabbit holes with is like handwritten letters. You start getting these handwritten letters, and I mean, especially if they're all from the same people, you're just learning all about this person's life. And, a lot of times it's pretty fascinating stuff. And then once again, you'll see a name, so you'll Google it, and then you get on Wikipedia about that person, and you start going down all these rabbit holes. So, yeah, I mean, paper, just the history and the stories you can weave. And, that's the other, if you're showing photos, you may not know the story, but you can make some good ones up to go with the pictures. So.
Well, or as they always used to say at the public auctions, instant relatives.
Yep. So
everyone go over there and check out David at the $1 Million Peddlers. Again, he's doing some fine work over there, and go check him out. And David, we appreciate your time this evening.
Oh, of course. And thank you again for having me on. It was a lot of fun, as always.
Have a good evening.
Of course.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yep.